Antonio Pierce has announced his quarterback one for week 1, which has become a big deal. You name that quarterback, he's the quarterback for the rest of the season. And it's like, okay,
right.
Literally just named him for week 1. Well, let's back off a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, Gardner Minshew was named the starter for week 1 for the I almost said Oakland, the Las Vegas Raiders. So do you think this was the right move by Antonio Pierce?
So I remember before the start of training camp when we signed Gardner Minshew, I think I was in the camp of Aiden O'Connell. I thought, he did pretty well towards the latter half of the season when he played that, I think he earned the starting role, and then they brought in Gardner Minshew to compete for it. But seeing them both in the preseason, I got to say Gardner Minshew is definitely the right choice. I do think that he brings a lot of experience at the quarterback position, which does, I think, help this offense today, and especially at the start of the season. I do kind of hope, though, that AP does give Gardner Minshew a little bit of some slack on the leash. I don't want him to yank him after 2 bad starts. I kind of want Gardner Minshew to go through the struggles and then get a chance to get out of it. I don't want to get into a season where we're playing the quarterback carousel where it's or is it O'Connell this week? Is it Minshew the next week? I do think that Gardner Minshew, given the opportunity, given the time, he can be a productive quarterback for us. And, we do have some really comparable weapons, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker looks like he's got to be an absolute game changer for us, which is great. The rookie Brock Bowers and second year tight end, Michael Mayer. So I feel like that we've got some good weapons. Our defense is projected to be a top 10 kind of defense. And I hope that holds true because we will definitely need this defense to really perform like crazy to, counteract our offensive deficiencies. But, for the most part, I trust AP's decision to start Gardner Minshew. He definitely looked better in the preseason games. And, we will see. I mean, I don't know what my expectations are for this team. I'm not expecting a Super Bowl. Playoffs are still, I don't even think we're ready there quite yet, but I am excited for how this offseason has gone, what the reports I'm hearing coming out. I've been watching a lot of Hondo Carpenter's videos about camp and what he's been seeing and, what he's saying and is exciting about Raiders camp. And it makes me excited. It's just, taper expectations a little bit. I don't want to come on here and say, we're going to win it all because, we may finish dead last in our division, and it's a realistic possibility just because we have a whole new regime. We don't really have a prototypical franchise quarterback. And, this roster looks good on paper. We'll see if it comes all together when the season starts.
Yeah. I'm very indifferent about this move because I understand it from the perspective of he's a veteran. He's been in the league for a while. He's a very good motivator for teams. Mm-hmm. I think I would argue that this is probably the most talented team in terms of the weapons that he has. And I don't know, because he's played for the Eagles and they were pretty decent. But I just think Devontae Adams is great. Jacoby Myers was outstanding last year. You mentioned Michael Mayer, who had a really good ending to the year. Mm-hmm. And then Brock Bowers, who's arguably was the most talented player, probably behind Caleb Williams, that there was out on the NFL draft in terms of what he can do athletically and just everything you're looking for in that particular position. I think he was the best player on the board, and that's mm-hmm. Literally what the Raiders said. He was the best player available. We grabbed him. That was it. There was no rhyme or reason to it other than he's the best player that we thought was on the board. We snagged. Mm-hmm. So, he's very talented. I think Zamir White is going to actually have a pretty decent year. He's bulked up a lot. And he looks like good. And then you have I'm blanking. Oh, Alexander Madison, who's been a great backup over the years. He kind of had a trouble season last year, but that Vikings team really had a struggle season last year. So, I think this is a very talented team, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, O'Connell kind of has half of a year under Antonio Pierce's belt. And so it kind of is a little like, what happened? And I've watched a few of both. Listen, I watched the Cowboys game with the Raiders, and neither quarterback wowed me. Aiden O'Connell did the Aiden O'Connell thing. Dink and dunk. That's what he's comfortable with. That's what he's always going to do. And then every now and then he gets a little bit more confident, thinks he can fit it in a tight window, throws a pick. Gardner Minshew, he wants to prove that he belongs. So he steps back, drops back really far, throws a deep pass. I mean, he kind of underthrew Trey Tucker. Luckily, Tucker beat his man. So, he was kind of able to slow down, catch the ball. And it's a tough throw. I'm not going to kill the guy over it. But then, he starts getting confident, and then he starts throwing these absolute ducks, and you're just like, dude, like, you need to calm down. Like, it's okay to go with the check down every now and then. So both of these quarterbacks are flawed. And I know people are going to be sick and tired of me saying this, but I'm going to say it again. This is why we had said on this show for many, many episodes, this is why we did not want to get rid of Derek Carr.
Yeah.
This is what you are left with. If you weren't guaranteed to get Caleb Williams or one of the top 3 quarterbacks, I would even argue the top 5 quarterbacks, there was no reason to get rid of Derek Carr. And this is another reason why Josh McDaniels has no business being a head coach. Because there was another story that came out where Dave Ziegler had a trade in place to get the number 2 overall pick to get CJ Stroud. And that's who they wanted. That's who Ziegler wanted. He had a trade in place. It was ready to go. Had to get the okay from McDaniels. McDaniels said, no, veto. I don't want him. And went away with it. And it was like, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so whether it's true or not, the fact of the matter is he got rid of Derek Carr because he didn't like that Derek Carr wanted to do some of the offense that was successful where we had with Gruden, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you like Gruden or not. The offense was successful with Gruden, plain and simple. Was it a grand success? No, but it was successful. Then they got Devontae Adams, who wanted to play with Derek. And so you piss him off by getting rid of Derek Carr. It made no sense. And then you want to piss off the Raider fan base by saying, we're running it with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell and not draft a quarterback the whole freaking draft. And you're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And then you want to piss on my head and say that it's raining and say, oh, we believe in these guys and we're trying to make the playoffs. No, you are not. There's no way with these quarterbacks you're making the playoffs. I'm sorry. I don't believe in it. I think Aiden O'Connell is fine. I think Gardner Minshew is fine. But fine does not get you in the playoffs. Plain and simple. We've seen this over and over. Was Derek Carr flawed? Absolutely. Was he the best quarterback in the league? No, not by a long shot. But at the same time, he was a consistent quarterback. We knew what we were getting with him, and he had a great relationship with this whole team. He had given his blood, sweat, and tears. And did he need help? Absolutely. But most of these quarterbacks, if you're not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, you need help around you. Tua got paid because he has Tyreek Hill. I mean, and Jalen Waddle. I mean, what are we talking about here? This is the reality of the NFL. You're not every team is gonna have a Patrick Mahomes. It's not realistic. Not every team is going to be in the position to draft the number 1 consensus quarterback in the draft. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. So you have to think of all these possibilities. And I just feel like the Raiders and the fan base was like, oh, we got to get rid of Carr. We got to get rid of Carr. And it was like, you don't know because you've seen Carr so much, and because this team doesn't have a defense. All of a sudden, we're just like, well, we're done. Like, we need to get rid of him, and it made zero sense. And so this is why you and I had said from the beginning, do not get rid of Derek Carr. It is a dumb move because it's going to set us back a few years. And we're here in year 2 now, and we still don't look as good. We have a talented offense. We have a way better defense. And it's not going to mean jack shit if we don't have a quarterback. And we don't have a quarterback. Gardner Minshew is not going to thrive in this offense. Do not kid yourself. Aiden O'Connell does not thrive in this offense. They're good. They're fine. They're serviceable. You know what? I would argue there probably would be great backups in the NFL. Gardner Minshew has made a ton of money off of being a career backup. Aiden O'Connell would be a great backup because he's not going to challenge the ball downfield. But we don't need a backup. We need a starter.
Some part of me thinks that in the offseason, that I don't know if the Raiders are going to draft a franchise quarterback. To be truthful, I don't know how deep the quarterback pool is.
We might be fighting for the number 1 pick. I doubt it, but
yeah, I hope not. But
we're not as bad as the Patriots. I'm sorry.
There's another team that's supposed to be just as bad too. I'm forgetting.
Dogwater.
I don't know if the Panthers are going to repeat as a bad team, but
it might be.
There's some people that are saying the Broncos are probably going to be the worst team in football.
No, I don't see that.
I don't know how realistic that is, but I don't know. Some part of me thinks that next season, if we don't get a franchise quarterback through the draft, some part of me thinks that we are probably going to go after Dak Prescott because I don't think Cowboys are going to re-sign him to a long-term deal.
I would be okay with that. Dak is better than Minshew and O'Connell.
Yeah,
I'm good with that. And he's a grown-up. That's what Derek Carr was. And if they end up signing Dak Prescott, you literally just signed Derek Carr again and admitted that you did wrong.
Yeah, I think that's a good argument to make. And honestly, too, like, I don't know if AP just didn't want to fall into the trap of overpaying a quarterback that's unproven or drafting a rookie. I think what him and Tom Telesco were really focusing on was getting defense solidified. Yeah, making sure that they had some valid weapons to see if they can even put a system together. To see if maybe we are just one quarterback away from now being a threat. Maybe that was the game plan for it. Because don't get me wrong, like, I think Gardner Minshew is going to be fine. Do I think he's going to get us to the playoffs? No. I don't think Aiden O'Connell will do the same thing either. And, I was kind of hoping to see Aiden O'Connell progress better as a passer. And, when I was watching some of the preseason, it still looked kind of the same. He's still throwing it 90 miles an hour, 4 feet in front of him. And then, really can't locate the deep ball very much. Gardner Minshew, he doesn't have the world's strongest arm, but I think he can open up the passing game a little bit. I think he's a little bit more accurate.
I think he's more agile too. And I honestly do think that was a big key on why he gets the starting position over O'Connell. Yeah. Because O'Connell is a typical pocket passer. And Minshew is a little more, I'll run when I need to. And I think they're just like, listen, he gives us the best chance. Like, if a play breaks down, he can get us, a few yards here and there. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like when he played for Jacksonville, I think I can't remember if he played as rookie or a second year QB. This is when Trevor Lawrence was out and he came in and he did backup. He did fine. Like, he was a serviceable starter. He wasn't blow your socks off, but he was pretty good. He didn't lose you a bunch of games. And then same thing when he went to Indianapolis, he again was a starter after the after the original starter. I want to say if it was Matt Ryan or Anthony Richardson. I think it's Anthony Richardson, where he went in for him and he did fine. He was a serviceable quarterback. I think he almost got them into the playoffs, in fact, because they had a pretty good roster around them. Yeah. And then, he backed up Jalen Hurts last season when he was injured and he did fine. He's a serviceable backup. Now he has an opportunity here to be a good starter and, we'll see. I mean, I like to think there's enough pieces around him to make him successful. I'm a little apprehensive about our OC coming from the Bears, but that's just me. Davante Adams believes in him, so I guess that's good enough for me.
Hey, he doesn't have Justin Fields, so he's going to be a lot better now.
You know what? I think there's an argument to be made that maybe he's the reason that Justin Fields couldn't be successful is because he just didn't know what to do. And that doesn't mean that Justin Fields is bad. That just means he's not a coach that's going to develop you, which I think also makes a world of difference. So,